Happy Monday. My name is Michelle Chua. So sometimes I hear fellow yoga practitioners state this concern. I've been practicing yoga for a long time, let's say over 10 years, and I don't feel like I'm advancing in my yoga practice. I wanted to take a few minutes to address that. And of course, this is from my own filters, experiences, and opinions, and I'd be happy to have an open dialogue with you if you want to post some comments below. So first, I wanted to reference TKS Destikachar, who is one of the pioneers of modern yoga, Vinyasa yoga. And he said that to something to this extent. To see how you are progressing in your yoga practice, take a look at your relationships and how your practicing yoga has affected them. It's important to remember that coming to your mat is like sharpening a pencil. And you sharpen the pencil, but you use it when you're off your mat. How are you writing the story of your life with that sharpened pencil? How are you actually applying the various limbs of yoga and how you interact with the world around you? A second thing I wanted to bring to light was, how do you define advance in your yoga practice? What does that look like to you? Is it walking across the room in a one-handed handstand? Is it being able to live in a state of samadhi? What does progress look like to you with how you see yourself now in your yoga practice? Third thing to consider perhaps is, what have you been practicing specifically? As many of you might know, the Yoga Sutras states that there are 8 stages or limbs of yoga. From the yamas, which are ethical practices and how we relate to the world, like nonviolence, to the niyamas, which are spiritual practices such as devotion and discipline, to the third, which is the physical postures, the fourth, breath work, pranayama, how we regulate life force within our bodies using conscious breathing techniques. The fifth is being able to extract from external stimuli and tune inward so that you can practice the sixth, which is concentration, being able to deeply focus on one thing at a time, moving into meditation, moving into something you can't really strive for, but comes through time organically, which is a state of samadhi. Unity consciousness. It's like living in a state of meditation. So of those various limbs, which are you practicing? And to go along with that is the fourth thing to consider is, how have you been practicing? If you perhaps are already a very busy-minded person and physically active, what might be called a pitta, fire element, heavy in Ayurveda, are you contributing to that fire by practicing more rigorous physical yoga or very heating breath work like a Palabati breath of fire? And if you're on the other side of that spectrum, tend to be very perhaps low energy, are you contributing to that by only practicing yin, restorative, gentle, slow practices that don't stimulate you? So how are you listening to what you truly need in the practice of satya, which is within one of the limbs of yoga, truthfulness, and aligning to that, understanding what your way of balancing yourself is? Because hatha yoga, which is the physical practice, is defined as using what might seem like polarities, right? Hatha is sun and moon, also meaning yin and yang. And how do we bring that together intelligently, wisely, to awaken our wholeness? And then another thing to consider is, how regular has your practice been? Yeah, maybe you've been practicing for over 10 years. Has it been once every couple of weeks or sporadically when you can squeeze in the time? Has it been a committed allocation of time daily, like 15 minutes as soon as you wake up, which includes meditation? So things to consider. If you can reflect on a time that you have learned or mastered a skill besides yoga, what did it take to do so? What was your frequency of practice, your definition of competency or mastery, your attitude in learning it as a student? Was it reluctant and taking on the task as an obligation, reluctantly, that you felt like you should do, you're supposed to do? Was it wholehearted? Being a former elementary school teacher, truly engaging students in the experience of learning where it was personally meaningful to them, in which they had the drive internally, intrinsically, to pursue that knowledge or to bring that skill into their being, was essential. And it's still essential is to me. So how are you making the practice most meaningful and aligned to you? And then how is your experience of learning that previous skill in your life compared to your approach to learning yoga, and to truly making it a part of your being where it's useful not only to yourself, because as we yoga practitioners believe that practicing yoga is not just for ourselves, it's definitely for the world at large, how we contribute our energy to that world. So here are my thoughts on that concern. How do I advance in my yoga practice when I feel like I'm not? I would love to hear your ideas. Feel free to share your comments below. Thanks for listening.